The first thing I saw was the for sale sign. The second was my entire childhood, stuffed into black garbage bags. I stood at the end of my parents' driveway with my college duffel over one shoulder, staring at the house I had called home for 20 years. The curtains were gone. The porch was bare except for maybe a dozen garbage bags, each one marked with my name. Rihanna. I turned. Mrs. Walker from across the street was standing by her mailbox, staring at me. You didn't know. Know what? She looked toward my house. They moved. My stomach dropped. What do you mean, they moved? She hesitated. 3 weeks ago. I walked straight to the porch. My hands shook as I tore open the first bag. My winter clothes. My childhood photographs. My college notebooks. Things I had expected to find waiting for me in my bedroom. Instead, they had been thrown away like someone was clearing out a closet. I called Mom. No answer. Again. Nothing. Then I called Dad. He answered on the fourth ring. Dad, where are you? A pause. Then, without a hint of concern, he said, We moved. I stared through the locked front door. You moved, where? That's not important. Where am I supposed to go? His voice hardened. Your stuff is outside. Deal with it. Then he hung up. I stood there with the phone against my ear, listening to the dead line. For the first time in my life, I realized something terrifying. My parents hadn't simply left the house. They had left **me**. And whatever had happened inside that house before they disappeared, they clearly didn't want me finding out. I just didn't know yet why. I had come home from college expecting spring break to feel familiar. Instead, I was standing on the porch of a house that was no longer mine, surrounded by everything my parents had decided I didn't deserve to keep. The sun began dropping behind the neighboring rooftops. I had nowhere to sleep. No key. No address. No explanation. And then my phone buzzed. A text from Dad. I opened it. Don't come looking for us. I spent that night at my friend Maya's apartment, with my belongings still sitting in garbage bags beside the couch. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the porch. The bags. The for sale sign. And my father's voice. Deal with it. Around midnight, Maya sat across from me. Rihanna, your mom really didn't say anything. I shook my head. She called me 4 days ago. Maya frowned. What did she say? She said, your room is ready for spring break. Maya stared at me. That doesn't make sense. I know. I pulled out my phone and opened our recent messages. Mom had sent me pictures of groceries 2 days earlier. She had asked whether I wanted chicken or pasta when I got home. Nothing about moving. Nothing about selling the house. Nothing about leaving. Then I remembered the strange details I'd ignored. Dad had stopped answering video calls. Mom always sounded rushed. Whenever I asked what was happening at home, she changed the subject. I had assumed they were busy. Now every small moment felt different. The next morning, I called my cousin Emily. She answered cautiously. Hey, Rihanna. Did you know? Silence. Know what? That my parents moved. Another pause. Then Emily whispered, I thought you knew. My chest tightened. Why would you think that? Because they had a goodbye barbecue before they left. I sat completely still. What? They told everyone not to tell you because they wanted to handle it themselves. I looked at the garbage bags beside me. Everyone knew. Except me. I asked Emily where they had gone. She said she didn't know. I sent both my parents the same message. Where are you? I deserve an explanation. Mom finally replied several hours later. Just 7 words. This is what's best for everyone. I stared at the screen. Then I opened my photo gallery and found a picture from Christmas. My family was standing in the kitchen, smiling beside the tree. I zoomed in. Behind us, on the counter, was a folded piece of paper. I had never noticed it before. I enlarged the image. At the top were the words, "Notice of default." By the next morning, I was back at my old house. Not because I wanted to see it again. Because the garbage bags were still sitting on the porch, and the neighborhood trash truck was coming that afternoon. I couldn't let my childhood disappear into a landfill. As I loaded the bags into Maya's car, Mrs. Walker crossed the street. "Rihanna, wait." I stopped. She lowered her voice. "The movers came on a Saturday." "When?" "3 weeks ago. They emptied the entire house in one weekend." I stared at her. "Did my parents say where they were going?" "No." She hesitated. "Your father told everyone not to ask questions." That sentence followed me all the way downtown. I drove to the real estate office listed on the FOR sale sign. A woman behind the desk pulled up the property record. "It closed already," she said. "When?" She checked the screen. 3 weeks ago." "Was it financed?" "No, cash." My stomach tightened. "Do you know where the sellers moved?" She shook her head. "Mr. Carter specifically requested that we not provide a forwarding address." That was the moment I understood. They hadn't forgotten me. They had deliberately made sure I couldn't find them. When I returned to the neighborhood, my phone was exploding with messages. Someone had posted the house sale online. People were asking why the daughter hadn't been told. Then classmates started messaging me. "Are you okay? Did your parents really leave you?" I didn't want rumors. So I posted one sentence. "I came home from college and found my belongings in garbage bags on the porch." Within minutes, the post spread through people I hadn't spoken to in years. Then my phone rang. "Dad." I answered. "You need to delete that. Tell me where you live. You're embarrassing this family. You left my belongings on a porch." "Rihanna, tell me where you live first." Silence. Then the call ended. I lowered the phone slowly. For the first time, my father had nothing to say. And that silence told me more than his anger ever could. The envelope was buried beneath one of my old college notebooks. I almost threw it away. Then I noticed my father's name printed across the front. I opened it. Inside were overdue mortgage notices, collection letters, and a warning about foreclosure proceedings. I read the first page twice, then a third time. The house hadn't simply been sold. My parents had been running out of time. I called the county record's office and confirmed the sale date. The house had closed just days before foreclosure action could move forward. Then I found another document. A bank statement. The proceeds from the sale had gone into an account connected to my father's contracting business. Suddenly, the secret move looked different. They hadn't disappeared because they wanted a fresh start. They had been trying to outrun something. That afternoon, my aunt called. "Rihanna, did Daniel ever ask you for money?" "No, why?" She exhaled. "He's been borrowing from people." Another relative called that evening. Then another. Everyone suddenly had a question about my father. And every conversation revealed another piece of what he'd hidden. Then I checked my own finances. My college savings account was lower than I remembered. I pulled the records. A withdrawal had been made the previous year. My father was listed as the joint custodian. I sat at Maya's kitchen table, staring at the transaction. He hadn't only hidden the financial crisis. He had already reached into money meant for my future. That night, I opened a new bank account. I removed every family member's access. I changed my emergency contacts. Then I signed the lease for a small apartment with Maya. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Finally, I wrote my parents one last letter. I didn't accuse them. I didn't beg. I simply told them I was ending contact and did not want further communication. I mailed it certified. Then I stopped waiting for an explanation. Months passed. Summer classes. My campus job. A new apartment key. Plans for graduation. Slowly, my life stopped revolving around the house my parents had taken away. Then, exactly 1 year after I came home from college and found those garbage bags on the porch, my phone began vibrating. One call, then another, then another. By the end of the week, the screen showed a number that made my hands go cold. Asterisk 247 missed calls. I didn't listen to the first voicemail, or the second, or the 10th. The calls kept coming. Blocked numbers, unknown numbers, messages from relatives. Then, after days of ignoring them, I finally pressed play. It was Mom. Her voice sounded nothing like the woman who had told me, "This is what's best for everyone." "Rihanna, please call me back. We made mistakes. We really need to talk." I listened again. Then I called my aunt. "What's happening?" She was quiet for a moment. "Your father's business is gone." I already knew it had been failing, but I didn't know how bad it had become. My aunt explained that Dad had accumulated tax debts, personal loans, and unpaid bills from the contracting business. He had kept borrowing to keep it alive while telling everyone things would turn around. They hadn't. When the mortgage payments fell behind and foreclosure became imminent, my parents rushed to sell the house. The money from the sale went almost immediately toward debts and another attempt to restart the business. Then they moved, and they deliberately left me behind. Not because they had forgotten spring break. Not because they had misunderstood my plans. They knew exactly when I was coming home. They simply didn't want me there when everything collapsed. And when relatives began asking questions, they realized they had one person left who was becoming financially independent. Me. My aunt finally said what I had already suspected. "They need money, Rihanna." I closed my eyes. After everything, the 247 calls weren't about apologizing. They were about needing something. Housing, legal expenses, financial help, maybe even another rescue. I thought about the porch, the black garbage bags, my college books scattered across the concrete, and my father's voice. "Deal with it." I opened my laptop. I wrote 3 sentences. "I was your daughter when I needed a home. You treated me like unwanted property. I hope you find the help you need, but it will not come from me." Then I sent it. I blocked every number. I created an email filter that sent anything from my parents straight into an archive I would never open. For the first time, there was nothing left for them to demand from me. The family learned the rest soon afterward. Relatives who had criticized me for making the situation public started apologizing. They learned about the foreclosure notices, the hidden debts, the business collapse, the money taken from my college savings. People who had defended my parents stopped defending them. Daniel's business was eventually dissolved. Creditors continued pursuing what he owed. My parents moved again, this time into a small rental apartment. The house was gone. The business was gone. And the family image my father had worked so hard to protect was gone too. Meanwhile, my life went in the opposite direction. My campus internship became a full-time job. I finished college. I furnished my own apartment. Not with expensive things. Just things I chose. Things nobody could suddenly decide to throw away. One evening, I took the last photograph I had rescued from the garbage bags. It was the Christmas picture. The one with the folded foreclosure notice sitting behind us. I placed it above my desk. Not because I wanted to remember what my parents had done. Because I wanted to remember that I had survived it. More than a year after everything happened, I drove back through my old neighborhood. The house was no longer for sale. Another family lived there. A couple of children rode bicycles across the driveway. For a moment, I remembered sitting on that porch surrounded by garbage bags, wondering where I was going to sleep. Then I looked at the keyring in my hand. My keys. My apartment. My life. I didn't feel the need to knock on that door. I didn't need the house back. I didn't need my parents to explain themselves anymore. I turned around and walked back to my car. The day my parents left my life in garbage bags was the day I finally stopped living in the home they controlled and started building one they could never take away.